I'd like to call to order the public meeting for March 15th, 2022. Dr. Lee, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I'd like to welcome all visitors. Yeah? Okay.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Lower Moreland Township School District. My name is Dr. Scott David-Heiser, Superintendent of Schools, and I want to thank you for attending this evening's meeting of the Board of School Directors. I would like to remind our board and members of the public that this meeting is being live streamed on our district YouTube channel, and that a recording of the meeting will be posted on our school board website within 48 hours following this meeting. I would like to welcome our board members and members of the public joining us this evening. To our board members, please be reminded that for sound purposes, you must turn on your microphone by tapping the touchpad and speak directly into the microphone in order for the sound to be audible, not only for our in-person community members here in the auditorium, but also for anyone listening to the live stream. After speaking, please also mute your microphone by once again pressing on the touchpad. Mr. McGuinn, would you please take the roll call of the board?
Certainly. Mrs. Baker.
Present.
Mr. Berardi. Got it. Dr. Butler.
Present.
Ms. Cannon.
Here.
Dr. Cohen.
Present.
Mr. Geiger.
Present.
Dr. Lee.
Present.
Mrs. Natter.
Present.
Mr. Steinberg. All board members are present.
Thank you, Mr. McGuinn. I'll take the roll call of the cabinet members and administrators who will be participating in this evening's meeting. Mrs. Galdo.
Present.
Mrs. Drennan.
Present.
Mr. McGuinn.
Here.
Mr. Giordano.
Present.
Dr. Hilt.
Here.
Mr. Miles. Mr. Miles is present. Ms. Dilks. Ms. Dilks is present. And Mr. Cole. Mr. Cole is present as well.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the February 15th, 2022 regular meeting as recorded or amended of the Lower Moreland Township School District? Second?
Second.
Do I have a second? Okay. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns? If there are no further comments, questions, or concerns, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried.
Thank you. This evening we have three recognitions we're going to begin with on our traditional monthly Students of the Month recognition. We're going to begin with, and I'd like to invite Mr. Cole, Pine Road Principal, to the microphone and to the podium, along with student recipients, for his kind remarks.
We're a little nervous, so there you go. Our Pine Road Student of the Month this month is Mattia Lays. Mattia always goes above and beyond and serves as a model to our school community. He is highly focused, hardworking, and excited to learn. He is a very responsible student who is constantly engaged during class and consistently tries his best. Mattia's work ethic and positive approach to school allow him to be successful and promote hard work and dedication in his peers. Awesome job.
Congratulations, Mattia. Thank you, Mr. Cole. Next, I'd like to invite Ms. Dilks, principal at Murray Avenue School, and her two recipients of Students of the Month to the podium.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to present our two Students of the Month from Murray Avenue, and I'm going to begin by reading the inscription on the certificate from Senator Collette. Your dedication to academics and school activities and your demonstration of good character are exemplary. For the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the United States of America to grow and succeed, we must all make our best, most heartfelt efforts to consistently display these qualities. We are each responsible for helping our community, and you have shown that you're up to the challenge. I join with you, with your teachers and fellow students in recognizing your outstanding citizenship qualities. Congratulations for receiving this much-deserved award. I encourage you to continue to work hard and act as a leader within your community. And I'll also share the nomination information for each of our students. So first, I'll do Bradley Hornsnall. Bradley is a hardworking student who is always willing to lend his support to his classmates. Bradley is a leader in the classroom and in the hallways of Murray Avenue. He brings a positive attitude to school every day. Bradley works hard to maintain good grades and is outgoing and friendly to everyone he encounters. He is quick to use humor to engage others in conversation and put them at ease. Bradley is an asset to our school and community, and he demonstrates this on a daily basis. Congratulations, Bradley. Our second recipient this evening is Sophia Culp, and I'll read her the nomination information for Sophia. Sophia is both a great student and a great person. She is the type of person who always makes sure she is working hard in class on her assignments and is pleasant and welcoming to the people who she interacts with. Sophia is very creative and is not only a high achiever academically, but is also involved in many after-school and extracurricular activities as well. Sophia is a great student and a great person, and we are lucky to have her at Murray Avenue. Congratulations, Sophia. Thank you. Get your picture. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dilks. Congratulations, Sophia and Bradley. I'd like to welcome Mr. Miles, principal at Lower Moreland High School, to the podium for his recipients.
Good evening, Dr. David Heiser and members of the board. It's my pleasure to highlight the Students of the Month of the high school. We have two this month. We have 12th grader Ivan Q and 11th grader Leo Levy. So first with Ivan. Ivan's teacher had this to say. Ivan is a mature, responsible, and conscientious student. He is respectful to all. He is a caring and kind individual. He values his family and shares close relationships. He volunteers his time to help others regularly on weekends. As a learner, Ivan is predictably and reliably steady. He asks questions. For Ivan, it is not just about getting the grade, it is about learning the material and being a good student. During COVID learning, he stayed with us despite being virtual for almost a whole school year. And if I may, I'll read the certificate, Ivan. Lower Moreland High School Student of the Month, Ivan Q, is recognized for academics, character, and integrity. We congratulate you and have confidence that your future will be equally successful. Ivan, congratulations. Okay. Ready, Leo? Our second Student of the Month, Leo Levy. Leo's school counselor has this to say about Leo. In my 23-year career in public school education, Leo Levy stands out as a student who has demonstrated one of the greatest and most memorable transformations. The Leo who sits before me as a junior is one who not only recognizes his potential, but who also takes concrete steps to make himself a better student. One who is defined by his character strengths as much as his academic promise. Conversations that once began with, "Why do I have to do this?" now sound more like, Can I add AP Macro to my schedule this coming semester? How do I go about starting a club? And I want to get more involved in service to help our veterans. Leo wants to look back on his high school with pride. He looks around him now with a stronger sense of appreciation. And in his future, he wants to serve our country as a member of in the armed forces. I've always seen signs of Leo's strengths, namely his honesty, curiosity, and self-regulation, and his humility. Now these strengths are coming out in full force, transforming Leo into one of the leaders in our school community. It has been an absolute honor to bear witness to his evolution as a student and as a human being. He is among the most memorable students with whom I've ever worked and reminds me of why education is still the greatest profession ever. Quite a statement, Leo. And if I may read your certificate, Lower Moreland High School Student of the Month, Leo Levy, is recognized for academics, character, and integrity. We congratulate you and have confidence that your future will be equally successful. Leo, congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Miles. Congratulations, Leo and Ivan, and to all of our award recipients of the month. Our next recognition this evening is our National Art Honor Society. At the December 2021 board meeting, a Lower Moreland chapter of the National Art Honor Society was approved for its first year of the 3-year application process to become an established extracurricular activity. This evening, Brooke Mulroy, Lower Moreland High School art teacher, who is serving as the chapter's advisor, is here along with some of her students to talk about the National Art Honor Society, its eligibility requirements, and some of the scholarship and award opportunities that it offers. Ms. Mulroy?
Sounds good. All right, thank you so much. I did have a student planning to come, but it looks like she wasn't able to make it. But I am Ms. Mulroy, and we just started the National Arts Honor Society this year at Lower Moreland High School. And I want to thank Ms. Galdo for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight on behalf of the National Honors Art Society. So I'm just going to give a little overview of what this is and what our intentions are and why we want to have this at our high school. So the National Arts Honor Society is something that brings art education to the attention of our school and community. And these are just some of the many skills and traits that students develop in the arts. And the National Arts Honor Society is, intending to give that, recognition to art, because this isn't just an art club. This is expecting students to attain the highest standards in their character, bringing community service to our school, to the community, bringing attention to art education, and receiving scholarships. At Lower Moreland High School, we are asking that students who are joining the National Arts Honor Society maintain an A in an art class and receive a 3.5 GPA or higher. Since this is our first year doing the National Arts Honor Society, we're only requiring 10 hours since it's only in the 3rd marking period. But in the future, we will expect for that number to go up. And the benefits for the National Arts Honor Society are similar to other honor societies that are available to high school students. That includes peer recognition, leadership, growth, college and career preparation, and then just, again, recognition for our art department and our art program here at the high school. And some opportunities for our students that are in this honor society is getting published nationally, which is really important in the arts, is to share your work. So this gives students the opportunity to gain recognitions and achievements to other members of the society across our nation. And also it gives us the opportunity to share what we've done in the newsletter. And then something that I think is really amazing for students if they join the National Arts Honor Society and they meet the criteria is that there's so many opportunities for scholarships. Some of these institutions require an application process for those scholarships, but some of these institutions do offer scholarships to juniors and seniors that have been an active member and held their GPA and their grades up for an opportunity to have tuition money for art schools. This is really, really great for our students who are in the National Arts Honor Society, who've expressed an interest or are thinking about a career in the arts, or at least studying art in college. And then, like any other honor society, we do have service and leadership opportunities. So again, this is a brand new society, so we will be holding elections soon for our president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and then tons of service opportunities for students, whether that be hosting a collection or donation, hosting like LMHS events, like staff parties for painting. We did the Activities Festival and District Arts Festival, teaching and tutoring, learning and enriching themselves through art. And then there's also an amazing opportunity for career readiness through this. This exposes our students to a number of the growing careers that are in the arts, and most of our members do have an interest in that. So it is important for me to expose these students to those careers, and having opportunities for speakers and local professionals to discuss what it's like to live and work as a creative. And then there's also a career center through the National Art Education Association that we are a member of through this organization. So this gives students the opportunity for resume writing courses and career coaching, as well as they can create a profile that they can connect with professions and industries in the arts. So it's a really great like online space for those students. And then this is again our first year, so we have 27 members who have committed to our society, and we've officially started just within this month. And we are planning some opportunities this year for community service, talking about careers, college opportunities, leadership opportunities, perhaps some more like learning opportunities when it comes to guest speakers, or even like some virtual field trips for now, and just planning for students to exhibit their artwork in more public spaces to really get them to practice the behaviors of a living artist. So that is what the National Arts Honor Society is. Yeah. Oh, and Liz is here. Okay, so yeah, we do have one student who actually, I need to give credit to the student for asking me to sponsor this because she had an experience at a previous school. So our student Liz is going to talk a little bit about why this club is really important and why she wanted to start this, or sorry, not club, this honor society is really important and why we wanted to start it at the high school.
Thank you, Ms. Mulroy, and hello and good evening. I'm sorry for the late entrance. Oh, thank you. So I want to first thank Ms. Mulroy and all of you for approving this awesome honor society, because art is something that is very true and dear to a lot of our students, and putting this into place would allow us to, you know, finalize it and make it even a more academic thing rather than just a club, like Ms. Mulroy said. And again, this would have not happened with her awesome support and time and effort that she's put into it. The Honor Society is so amazing because it allows us to have a network of 58,000 students that we can all connect with. As Ms. Mulroy said, we can get published in national publications and have our art be discovered. A lot of art and design students that are looking to seek this as a career can explore this through the National Art Honor Society and receive scholarships for art and design schools. However, students that are not interested in art and design careers but are still considering themselves to be artists, such as myself, can still explore this as a very academic and artistic thing and be recognized for it, which I think is a wonderful thing, especially if you're not just only interested in pursuing art. And I think the National Art Honor Society is going to bring awesome opportunities to our students and our community to be enriched in the field of art. And I look forward to what we're going to accomplish.
Any questions from the board? Dr. Cohen.
Yeah, I would say yes, because there are certain circumstances where some students really do achieve very highly in the arts or in one area. So if they are really demonstrating growth and leadership and meeting other criteria, then yes, there are some circumstances in which a student can still be a part of this, especially with our courses are typically half of a year, so not every semester a student is going to have an art class. So with that too, there has to be a little bit of like a circumstance depending on the student. But yeah, that's a really good question. Yeah, of course.
I read this somewhere and just want to share. Maybe you can put it on a T-shirt for your new club, which is, Earth without art is eh.
Nice.
You've heard that before?
I have. I
I've been
actually remember my high school art teacher had like a magnet of that.
Yes.
And it stuck with me because I was like, that's
Me
very
too.
true.
I've been waiting to say that for years, by the way, so this
Your
is the first
moment's here.
opportunity, so thank you.
Of course, yeah, of course. Yeah, are there any other questions about this or comments?
Quick question. The community service, will it be art-based? Are you trying to do something with like murals around the city or something?
Yes, I'd like to do a little bit of both. Like, I still want to encourage students to do service outside of arts, but yes, like you said, murals would be really great, or even just like passing along, like teaching, hosting like maybe like wellness events or like mindfulness events, things like that. Or even like, I know some schools, the students even paint like pictures in classrooms that don't have any windows. So, you know, even beautifying their own school, even if it's not on like a large scale, but we would love to do something like that to get to a large mural or something.
Thank you.
Yeah.
With the new high school opening soon, do you foresee your students being involved in embellishing the new building?
I do, yeah. So as long as that is, you know, approved, then we would love to, you know, maybe create like a welcome art piece somehow, or I think I definitely are already talking about that because they do get excited and we know that we're moving out of this building soon. So I think that all of that passion will be brought up to the high school, or the new high school, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, thank you again for allowing us to speak tonight and giving us this opportunity. We're really, really excited to see how this honor society grows in this district. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Morrow.
Thank you.
Our third recognition of the evening is the Pennsylvania Music Educators Association. Music Department Chair Glen DeGeorge is here this evening, and he's here to talk a little bit about March as being Music in Our Schools Month. So this evening, in honor of the month, we have Glen DeGeorge, the district's Music Department Chair, present. Each year, the high school department has students audition for the Pennsylvania Music Educators Association district, region, and state ensembles. This is a highly competitive and auditioned group of students who win spots in performing groups that combine musicians from other schools. This year, we had 4 students qualify for districts, and 2 are continuing on to the even more competitive regional and state levels. Mr. DeGeorge, it's all yours.
Thank you, Dr. David Heiser. Good evening, members of the board, Dr. David Heiser, administrators, parents and guardians, students, and members of the Lower Moreland community. My name is Glen DeGeorge, and I'm the instrumental music teacher at Pine Road Elementary School for grades 3 through 5, and I serve as the Lower Moreland Township School District Music Department Chairperson for grades kindergarten through 12th grade. As Dr. David Heiser mentioned, I'm here tonight because March is National Music in Our Schools Month, and throughout the district, each of our respective schools are highlighting the importance of music education through a variety of performances, creative projects, workshops, and master classes. With the most public display of this celebration being our All Band Day Festival coming up on Thursday, which will feature band students from all 3 buildings performing in a concert that highlights their musical journey that students take in our performing groups from 4th through 12th grade. However, as you know, here in Lower Moreland, we like to consider every month of the school year Music in Our Schools Month. We are able to celebrate our thriving music program in our community from August to June, because of the tireless efforts of our district's music teachers who constantly look for ways to engage their students through creativity, collaboration, innovation, and music performance. Music is possible because of the enthusiasm of our students who constantly strive to heighten their technical and performing skills in and day out while flexing their creative muscles. Music is possible because our parents and the greater Lower Moreland community demonstrate the value of music education through their passion for encouraging their students' creativity and artistry both at home and in school. It is possible because of the leadership of our administrators who from time and time again provide us with the support to serve our students both academically and artistically. It is possible because of the vision of our school board of directors who, throughout the challenges that we have faced since the beginning of the pandemic, have helped us craft creative solutions that have allowed the music department to not miss a beat in providing continuity of instruction and performance throughout the pandemic. Just as a great symphony orchestra is made up of individual groups of instruments, music in Lower Moreland is thriving because of the contributions of all of our stakeholders. And it is due to that commitment that fostering musical growth, we are thrilled to be honoring 4 of our Lower Moreland High School students this evening for their outstanding musicianship and contributions to the Lower Moreland music community. Each year, as Dr. David Heiser said, our high school music department has students audition for the Pennsylvania Music Educators Association's district, regional, and state ensembles. This is a highly competitive and auditioned group of students who win spot in performing groups that feature musicians from Montgomery County, southeastern Pennsylvania, and all Pennsylvania high schools. This year, we had 4 students qualify for districts, and 2 are continuing to the even more competitive regional and state level. And in recognition of their hard work, talents, dedication, and commitment to their being an outstanding musical ambassador for Lower Moreland, we will now present them with an Outstanding Musical Achievement Award. I've asked each of our students' music teachers tonight to provide us with a little insight into their contributions each one of these students make to our music program, and I would like to invite them to join me up here at the front of the podium. Here are what a few of our music teachers have to say about our honorees this evening. Our first student is Isabella Bavasso. Isabella has made an incredible contribution to the LMTSD choral program. Bella is a leader in choir class. She is always prepared for class, and she spends time outside of school rehearsing, and she is kind and respectful to her peers. Bella's excellent musicianship and positive attitude raises the level of ensembles that she sings with. Throughout high school, Bella has been a member of the LMHS Concert Choir and Honor Choir. Outside of school, she sings and acts as a section leader in the renowned Pennsylvania Girls Choir, led by Elizabeth Parker. She holds high expectations of herself and maintains excellent grades with rigorous academic schedules, and is a joy to have in class. Bella has made PMEA District 11 choir as a sophomore, junior, and in her senior years. This year, Bella also had the great achievement of making PMEA Region 6 choir and will be performing with the regional choir at North Penn High School on Thursday, March 24th. You will also get an opportunity to see Bella perform with the LMHS Concert Choir and choir in the Orchestra and Choral Concert Spring Concert on Thursday, May 5th, 2022. We would like to honor Isabella now, if she is here this evening, and we'll send that to her. It's in the mail. Our next honoree tonight is William Bond, class of 23, and here's what his choir teacher, Ms. Diener, had to say about Will Bond, who, of course, is no stranger to the board as he is a former student of the month. Will Bond goes above and beyond in all of his endeavors. In classes with underclassmen, he makes sure to be on top of his game so that he can help younger students succeed. Will is conscientious to his teachers, administrators, and peers. He is so giving of himself and his time while also maintaining a demanding academic schedule. He is always willing to participate and lifts the room and mood in any room that he enters. If you're lucky enough to interact with Will, you'll find yourself smiling and laughing constantly. His intellectual humor is a real treat. Will has helped build an environment of respect, collaboration, and creativity in the LMHS choir program. He participates in LMHS choir, honor choir, bass choir, as well as the LMHS drama club. Both this year and last year, Will made it through a challenging audition process for the PMEA District 11 choir, and you will be able to see Will perform in the LMHS Drama Club show High School Musical coming up this spring. We'd like to honor Will at this time if he is here this evening. and I had a funny feeling that his award is also in the mail. Our next honoree this evening is Luke McShane, and here's what his teacher, Mr. Obringer, had to say about Luke. Luke has qualified for the PMEA All-State Jazz Ensemble. The All-State Jazz Ensemble is an elite group of 20 musicians auditioned from the entire state. As a member of this ensemble, Luke will spend 3 days in rehearsal, culminating in a performance at the PMEA State Professional Development Conferences. As a student, Luke is incredibly motivated. He is very focused on developing his skills in and outside the classroom. He regularly comes to me with thoughtful questions that go above and beyond what is required of him to know. Beyond his abilities as a student, Luke is incredibly kind and a humble individual. He constantly is collaborating with other students on their music. He can always be found surrounded by his peers who clearly respect and admire him. Luke is a huge part of the band program here in Lower Moreland, and he will be a great representation of what our department has to offer at the state level. I know Luke is here this evening, and I'd like to invite him to come on up to receive his recognition. It's all Luke. Our final student being recognized tonight is Bumyul Park. Bumyul was selected to participate in the PMEA District 11 Band and Orchestra Festival, 2 separate auditions that he won. The group is made up of the best high school musicians in Montgomery and Bucks County. Bumyul's selection into this group is a representation of who he is as a student and a person. He is an absolute joy to have in class. When Bumyul comes to each class, it is a clear motivation and he has a clear desire to learn. He works incredibly hard at his clarinet and has every activity that he commits himself to. Bumyul's classmates are always impressed with his playing ability, and his talent and work ethic serve as an example for the entire class. He is a true joy to be around. Please welcome Bumyul to receive his music award. Thank you very much for your time and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, Mr. DeGeorge, and thank you to and congratulations to all of our award recipients. Takes us to our public comment section.
For purposes of public comment and questions this evening, all public speakers are asked to state their first and last name prior to addressing the board. A 3-minute time period will be allotted for each individual comments. Individuals may not yield their time to another speaker. All comments will be directed to the board as a whole or to the presiding officers. No comments or questions shall be directed to an individual board members or district administrators. When applicable, responses to questions asked during public discussion will be answered. All public comment and responses must be in the spirit of civil public discourse. Abusive or profane language will not be tolerated. Please be aware that all comments are being recorded. The board thanks the public in advance for its cooperation.
Our first speaker is Michelle Schwartz.
My name is Dr. Michelle Schwartz. Dear school board members and administrators, over the last month, I have grown increasingly concerned about our school district and the direction our board has taken. Today, you will be voting on a new health and safety plan that should align with the recommendations of the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention. 2 weeks ago, the board administration seemed disoriented and worn out during the working session. I was shocked to learn that some do not know the function of the CDC. The CDC makes recommendations for policies based on the best available science at the moment. They cannot mandate or pass laws or require any action. That is done by elected officials. That is done by you. If you are confused about why science has not been able to provide resolute answers, you have at your disposal an amazing community of experts, including several on this board, myself, and many others who would happily spend time with you so you can feel more confident in making important decisions about the health and safety plan for our schools. All you have to do is ask. I am asking once again that you base your decisions on expert opinions and science and vote to make masks optional and low, recommended in moderate, and required in high community levels of COVID-19 based on the guidance released by the CDC. This afternoon, the President's office indicated that a new variant is of high concern for the U.S. I ask you to be proactive and not reactive by having a good plan in place to protect the continuity of education. As for enforceability, the comments made 2 weeks ago put little faith in our community to do the right thing. I believe we can trust our parents and students to put a mask on when asked, making appropriate exceptions for those who are truly harmed by doing so. Have faith in us. We will come through for the sake of keeping our kids in school. As for public comment, this board has created an environment where parents feel intimidated and fearful of retaliation if they voice their opinion either at a public meeting, by writing a letter, or even posting on social media. Based on what was said at a school board meeting a month ago, they're not wrong. During that meeting, we were told that we can either put up with bad decisions made by our administration, fire them, or leave the district. That is not fair to put a man's livelihood on the line. We still live in a democracy, for now, and the public should be able to disagree with the admin without having to remove him from the job. Another school board member read almost verbatim an opinion that I had posted on my private social media page that I can only assume was screenshot and sent to them. I thank you for giving me so much power, and I don't take for granted that my opinion means so much to you. However, it is very intimidating and problematic that you take my personal opinion, twist it without speaking to me, and generalize it to others. It is also problematic that you assume that you know how the majority of parents and community members feel about school policies based on a few biased and hostile social media boards that is mostly community members have disengaged from a long time ago. The impression that we are getting is that you are not interested in putting our school before politics, that you have a well-funded agenda, and you will not stop until you've removed facts, science, books, diversity, and equity from our district.
Ms. Schwartz, if you can finish up, please.
Thank you. Dr. Schwartz.
I apologize, Dr. Schwartz.
Today's vote is more than just a health and safety plan. It will guide our understanding on your intended direction on future major decisions. Please make the right choice today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Sybil Matthew.
I'm here to speak about requiring masking when there's community level of high when updating the new health and safety plan. I'm the parent to an immunocompromised child in this district. My son has congenital heart disease and needs a valve replacement in a few years. He also has a genetic syndrome called 22q11 that causes a slew of other medical complexities. Masking during this pandemic has literally saved his life. I'm here to advocate for his experiences. On the first day of mask optional, he experienced a classmate grab a mask from his hand after outdoor gym and refuse to return it. As a parent to a child with medical complexities, things like this are what I worry about every single day now. Dr. Esther Chu, a noted ER physician, stated, "Transmission is best reduced when masking is bidirectional and compliance is high." In other words, you can wear one if you feel like it. Policies are unlikely to be effective. Further, it stigmatizes those with medical conditions and sends a clear message: you're on your own. Even healthy children do not exist in a bubble. Many live with medically vulnerable family members and caregivers, and the consequences of jettisoning mask rules are carried home to them. Is masking uncomfortable and comes with its own issues? Yes. But the framing of that discomfort, the association of tyranny, oppression, and loss of personal freedom, has been pivoted above the health and safety of the immunocompromised. I've heard about children suffering because they can't see smiles. but the worry I have is one of life and death for my child. What's particularly frustrating is being gaslit constantly by members of this community, including school board members, peddling misinformation, twisting scientific facts to fit their narrative, and lying and saying they're thinking about all children when they make decisions. My son asked to attend the school board meeting tonight, and I had to ultimately say no to him. I realize I have to say things like, for my immunocompromised son, this is life or death, and plead with the school board to do the right thing in the best interest of his safety. He deserves to feel safe. I'd like to leave things on a positive note. I'd rather have him focus on the people at Lower Moreland who are invested in his safety, like his life skills teacher in the middle school. She wears a mask for him and her other immunocompromised students. This is something that touched my son very deeply. He said to me, she doesn't have to do that, but she does that for my safety. And he noted to me that he wants to wear a mask for others and their safety too. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ren Abraham.
Hi, my name is Ren Abraham. I'm a parent of 2 Pine Road students. They are 8 and 5 years old, and they happen to be here. I was glad that the initial health and safety plan for this school year included a masking requirement for substantial or high transmission rates under the old CDC guidance. I was glad for the requirement because asking my 8-year-old or my 5-year-old to make public health decisions for themselves is utterly absurd. Regardless of what parents may desire, the reality is that parents do not actually make any choices when masking is optional. I don't know how many times we'll be forced to hear about parent choice tonight, but it's pure nonsense. It's children who choose in the classroom, and they're not basing their decisions on what's best in the interests of public health and safety. So instead of leaving matters of vital importance to children, it's imperative that we, the adults in the room, make adult decisions for them. We do this for fire safety. Fire evacuation plans are not a recommendation, they are a requirement. We do this for active shooter safety. Lockdown plans are not a recommendation, they are a requirement. So what about COVID? The new CDC guidance on community levels is based on the severity of illness as measured by how much COVID is putting people in the hospital. This is an improvement over the old guidance, which did not take hospitalization rates into account. So, if we reach a high level of hospitalization, we should take that as an indication that an emergency response is required. And we shouldn't just wait and see if the next variant is easy on kids or not before we decide that masking should be required. It's up to us, the adults, to decide now that masks will be required when, not if, when the next COVID variant reaches epidemic proportions. It would be negligent of us not to do so. In the same way, it would be negligent to not have plans for fire evacuation or an active shooter lockdown, plans that everyone must follow. And of course, negligence leaves open the very real possibility of litigation. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ellen Segelo.
Good evening. My name is Ellen Segelo, and my husband Adam and I are parents of 2 children at Pine Road. I came back here this evening because I want to show my support to you. You're all our Board of School Directors, and I live here because I trust you to make decisions that are in the very best interest of all of the children and all of the staff, everybody. And we need to make masking mandatory, required, if we should enter the high category again. There's no other way around it. We need to protect everyone. I saw the numbers today in Montgomery County jumped up to something like 220 new cases, and I haven't seen anything like this since, I think it was the beginning of the Omicron surge back in December or maybe the beginning of January. So this mandatory masking is even more important now that the metrics have changed, that in order to attain the high threshold, we have to have a lot of people in the hospitals. We have to have a lot more people sick. It's incredibly important, and we're not going to be alone in this decision because Abington School District, Upper Dublin School District, they have already taken these steps to make sure that everybody is going to be as safe as we can possibly keep them. I know that we can't keep everything out of the schools, but we can do the very best that we can. No one likes wearing the masks. You know, whether you're choosing to wear one right now or whether you've decided that you're comfortable without it, nobody likes it, and that shouldn't have any influence on your decision tonight. If we in fact reach high, it means that we are experiencing a surge and it is time to put as many mitigation strategies in place as possible. I feel like CHOP has been pushing this multi-layered strategy, this multi-layered approach all along. And this would just be one layer in that approach. Now, we're in school 5 days a week. If we make it to the high category and we don't require masking, I do not know what's going to happen. So to me, it seems like a very small price to pay to keep our children in school. And let us also, again, address proper mask wearing and proper rule following. So if someone fails to wear a mask properly or at all when it's required, there needs to be an immediate consequence. If we have a parent or a child who refuses to comply with a directive, it needs to be addressed. And it's not enough simply to say that we can't enforce the rules. We need to enforce the rules. And as a board of school directors, you have the power to insist upon this, and you should. I implore you to do that. I know that many of you probably already made your minds up about how you're going to vote tonight, but I really hope that you listen to everything that is being said and that ultimately you can make a decision that looks out for the health and safety of everyone involved and is not politically motivated. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Anita McGee.
Hi, my name is Anita McGee, and I'm the parent of 2 students at Murray Avenue, both who have asthma. I'm here on their behalf. I'm actually here on the behalf of all the parents who have kids who have asthma and any underlying conditions. Actually, listening to Sybil talk just reminded me that when my son was in kindergarten, I had 2 kids that were in the NICU, and if the masking wasn't mandated at that time, I would have not been able to see my 2 daughters, who actually spent 60 days in the hospital. And I'm just thinking about other situations like this that you might not be thinking about that might be going on in the school district. So I'm here to tell you it's necessary for the safety that we have proactive plans in place to mitigate for what is a very serious threat in COVID. This means mandatory masks when we are at the high community level. Sending our kids to school during an outbreak with only half or 2/3 or more of the school is unmasked does far, far less than our best to protect the vulnerable among us. The CD says we should wear a mask. In the past, our family were the ones who had to keep their kids home for their safety. If there are kids who do not want to wear a mask, they can be given the option to learn from home. I would like to remind everyone that the way that people could go to school was for the parents that kept their kids home so they could be distant between each other. So this time, let them stay home. Abington and Upper Dublin schools have already approved their health plans based on the new CDC metrics and are requiring masks at the high level. The decision how we handle this is based on us, you, the school board. Why hasn't there been a survey that has been sent around to the community? We've had surveys before. It's only the same 10 people that keep showing up here over and over again. I don't think half the community knows what's going on. Why aren't we sending a survey to all the parents to see how they really feel? You've been elected to do a job of serving the best interests of our children, especially those who need protecting the most. The CDC offers guidelines, but it's not up to them to decide what we do with it. We decide that. You decide that. A health and safety plan that aligns with the CDC has everyone wearing a mask at high. Wear a mask. That doesn't mean recommend or maybe or if you feel like it. Wear a mask. Montgomery Public Health has recommended the same, and it finds it appropriate for schools to require masking so that schools will be remained aligned with the CDC guidelines. If we were all going to voluntarily wear a mask, if you just recommended it, we would be fine, but we know that that's not the case here in Lower Moreland. We need a mandate. In order for us to be masked, we need masks to be required at the high community level. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Heather Soares.
Good evening. My name is Heather Soares. I came here tonight to speak in opposition of any form of mask mandate for our school community. In 2 years, we have gained so much knowledge, and now there is plenty of data showing that school closures and mask mandates have been harmful to students. Professionals agree that children are at least 1 year behind. If you choose to vote in favor of a mask mandate tonight, I believe you will be doing so based on fear, not facts. It seems like our youngest students have suffered the most developmentally, and the oldest have suffered the most emotionally. Just last week, a high school teacher from a neighboring district shared with me a conversation that was had with students who choose to continue wearing the mask in school, even though it's no longer required. These students shared that the reason why they do so, they continue wearing the mask, is for fear of others seeing their full face, because they don't feel confident about themselves. They have lost their self-confidence regarding their appearance after 2 years of continuous mask wearing. Isn't that a really sad aspect of what has happened to our kids? If we continue to give our students fear-based guidance, how will we mold them into confident future leaders? Don't get me wrong, I fear for the health of my children, particularly my youngest, who is immunocompromised. I honestly can't even tell you how many times she was severely ill because another student giving her a cold, just a sniffle, that turned into something really huge for her. Whether it was a school classmate, a sibling, I let her have a play date, and then she got really sick. I really cannot even begin to count how many times I slept nights with my hand right on her rib cage, counting how many ribs were retracting, knowing that if one more retracted, that I was going to have to call the doctor, take her to the hospital, start another inhaler, or possibly start a round of steroids that we always have on hand. So I completely know what it's like to have fear as a parent, but I will not allow my child to carry my fears in her life. This is not a political thing for my family. The truth is that mask wearing set back some of my child's progress that we've worked so hard for 11 years now for her immune system, and we're currently working on building her back up. A future mask mandate would be harmful to her. I'd like to share one more thing with you. All 3 of my children were immediately happier since the day they were allowed to go to school without wearing a mask. Their faces have cleared up, which makes them feel more confident, and their overall mental status is healthier. My youngest said to me after the first time I came here and spoke when I got home, "Mom, thank you. I feel so appreciated." That was her response to me coming here to tell you about our family story. Myself, along with many other parents, are simply asking to keep choice, because individually, we know what is best for our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Colleen Collins.
Good evening. I had emailed you earlier this week, maybe last week, that I wasn't going to speak tonight. But the more I thought about it, the more of an injustice I felt I was doing to my kids. Because you all know as parents, you want the best for your kids. And not just the 4 of my kids in this district, but specifically, and I know I bring him up constantly, but for my son, who's been battling an inoperable brain tumor for 9 years. We moved from Northeast Philadelphia from a Catholic school because he wasn't getting proper services. When I spoke to CHOP, because unfortunately that's his second home, I said, please tell me where I can go. Please tell me what I can do for him. I said, tell me what school district that we can go to. Do you know what the #1 school district they told me? Lower Moreland. That should make you proud. We've been living a pandemic for 9 years, specifically December 31st, 2012, when I was told that my son had an inoperable brain tumor, but he also lost 70% of his vision. He's been on and off chemo, 105 chemos to be specific. I advocate not just for all my kids, but for him. I've been a cancer mom for 9 years. I understand immunocompromised. But I look at it on the opposite end. I need him to have a healthy immune system for when he relapses. It's going to be any time now. I don't share this with teachers, with neighborhood people, because that's our business. And he doesn't share it with his friends because he doesn't want to be known as a brain tumor child, but I'm his advocate. Are you a cancer parent? You would probably be standing up here doing the same thing. Okay, I want him to be healthy. I want his immune system healthy. I don't want him in a mask anymore. I think parents should be given the choice. That's all I'm asking. I do want to thank you for those who voted for mask optional, because I've seen such an improvement in my children, down to my daughter that's in kindergarten. They're excited to go to school. Their grades are better. Overall, their mental health has improved so much. So I'm just asking you tonight to keep in mind the parents who do want the option, because we are parents, and we know what's best for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes public comment.
Do I have a motion to approve the revised draft health and safety plan, updated CDC mask guidance as attached?
So moved.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns?
Ms. Baker?
Oh, I'm sorry. Dr. Lee.
Thank you, Ms. Baker.
Sure.
I respectfully urge my fellow members of the board to reject the current motion on the health and safety plan as currently written, and instead amend it to require masks be worn in school and on buses if we find ourselves in the high community level, according to CDC revised metrics. On February 28th, the CDC metrics were revised to reflect the impact of severity of disease on our community, namely hospitalization rates and hospital bed occupancy related to COVID. I welcome these adjustments to the CDC metrics and a move away from the 4-tiered system that was based on case rates and positivity. High, as currently defined, is different than it was 5 weeks ago, and now better represents COVID's impact on our community. This is very important to remember, as high now reflects a more significant level of impact. The CDC and MCOPH guidelines are clear instructions that during the high level, wear a mask regardless of vaccination status in K-12 school and indoor settings. This makes sense as an incremental step up from optional masks described during medium levels. I do not think it is safe to abandon a science-based strategy to require masks during high, as it has already proven to be a critical component of a multi-layered mitigation plan. Our community's experience has shown that as recently as the January Omicron peak, required masking helped keep our children in school, prevented in-school outbreaks, and helped keep our community safe during what was a time of very high infectivity and hospital strain. Regardless of how one interprets the CDC and MCOPH guidelines, we should remember that at all times, and especially during a high level of COVID, it is our responsibility as a board to guard the health and safety of all our learners, including those most medically at risk. During a high community level, a mask required policy would help ensure this better than a mask optional one and provide all our children the best opportunity to stay safely in school. I would like to be clear. My advocacy for a mask required policy if we return to a high community level is not a desire, aim, or plan to permanently mask our children. A mask required policy would only be implemented if we reach high, and it would revert to mask recommended once high changes to medium again. A mask required policy during high would help keep our kids in school while also doing our part to help hasten a return to medium. It makes more sense to be prepared rather than to be reactionary, to peel off mitigations when it is safe, rather than adding them during a time of uncertainty and risk. If masks are optional going into a high community level situation, I do not feel we would be doing everything we could to prevent what would likely be a worsening situation. I sincerely hope we never approach a high community level of COVID again. But if we do, we should act in a manner that is clearly in line with CDC recommendations and has already proven instrumental to get us through and out of high while keeping our children in school. Requiring masks can be a temporary and key strategy to again get us through a dangerous time. We should not be unwilling to use the best tools at our disposal. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Are there any other discussions?
I've
Dr. Butler?
a few prepared words as well, maybe less eloquent than Dr. Lee, but I'll try. I think to be clear, masks work to lower the risk of transmission of respiratory infections. Particularly at times of high community levels of disease, universal indoor mask wearing will make the likelihood of in-school transmission significantly lower. It is and should be our obligation to take whatever steps are necessary to protect everyone in our schools, particularly the most vulnerable. High-risk students and staff can choose to avoid indoor gatherings, restaurants, parties, etc., but they cannot choose to not come to school. The latest CDC guidelines for a high community level of disease represent conditions that would pose a significantly greater risk than the previous high designation. Fortunately, this high level will be harder to reach, but if we do reach it, it will be a significantly greater concern. Why is universal indoor masking recommended at high community levels of disease? It's recommended because, along with vaccination, it is the best and most effective way to prevent transmission of a highly contagious and potentially debilitating and deadly disease that has already killed nearly 1 million Americans in 2 years. It's our job to listen to and understand what is recommended by the experts and decide if we want to proceed with this best and most effective way to protect our students and staff, and thus require masking should we reach a high community level of disease as outlined by the CDC. Almost done. If we do not mandate masks at this high level, we will not be doing all that we can to protect our students, staff, and community. In the unfortunate event that we reach this high community level of disease, we must follow the recommendations and thus require that indoor masking be mandatory to ensure that our schools remain safe for everyone. I believe to do anything less would be a profound abdication of our responsibilities.
Thank you, Dr. Butler.
I'd like a clarification. Under high, you have wear a mask indoors. Is that mandatory or optional? Is my question.
Directing that at me? Dr. Cohen?
Anyone, yes.
As it's written in the motion, it is wear a mask. There is no requirement placed in there.
I'd like to make a motion to change the wording to mandatory.
I don't know, we can do that. Does this need to be voted on first, or can it be amended while seconded? Okay.
And it would require a second and then obviously resolve before the main motion.
Okay, so Dr. Cohen, it sounds as if you can make go ahead with your motion to amend.
I would like to make a motion to amend that in the high category, masks are mandated.
Second that motion.
Okay. Are Are there any comments, questions, or concern for discussion?
I'll make a
Mrs.
comment.
Natter?
I don't have a prepared statement, but our last two speakers both mentioned how detrimental it was when we had to go virtual, that students were not learning as well. They fell behind. They were emotionally affected by having to go virtual. If we don't want to go virtual again, if we want to keep school open, and we're in a high range of transmission and hospitalization, the best way to achieve that is by having everybody in school wearing a mask. We've seen in other districts where they went optional much earlier than we did. They had to close school and go virtual because so many students and staff were out sick. So for everybody who wants to stay in school and we're in a high range, wearing a mask is the best way to achieve that goal.
Are there any other comments?
Yes,
Questions?
so to that point, Ms. Natter, I also heard a speaker, public comment, that for those students who either choose not to wear a mask or for medical reasons have difficulties wearing a mask, that they can stay home, let them stay home this time. So I think then you're putting them back in a position where they are falling behind again, having to learn virtually. So I don't think it's all or nothing type of thing. I don't think bringing everybody in school with masks is as easy as it sounds.
No, we already have a system in place for people who have a medical reason not to wear a mask. They can already go through a process to get an exception. So it's, if you have a medical reason not to wear a mask, you go through a 504 process. If you don't have a medical reason, then you should wear the mask.
Well, not all of the medical reasons that children struggle with masks are approved under the 504. I'm just, it's very, very
Well, that's-
difficult. It's very, very difficult to get a 504 exemption for mask wearing.
If you have a true medical reason, you can get that exception, though.
I disagree, because there's people with medical reasons, but they were denied the 504. I don't make those decisions. I'm just telling you the facts. That's all.
Any other discussion?
Does our current
Dr. Liu?
plan state that when indoor masks are required, they will be required on transportation as well?
It states in the draft that's presented that the school district has adopted CDC's COVID level indicators. This new guidance is applicable to all community settings, including K-12 schools. Mitigation strategies, including masking, should be determined by the county's current level of risk and will apply to all indoor settings, indoor school settings, including transportation.
We have our solicitor here. I would just be interested to hear about the legal ramifications of what we're talking about. If we don't require masking when we're in a high range, are we setting ourselves up for liability if a student or staff member were to become seriously ill?
First, I feel obliged to note how unusual the circumstances are. I mean, normally I don't give legal advice at a public meeting. This will not be the first time I've done it here, let alone elsewhere. And I understand why we're doing it. The specific question you've asked, our position has always been that the bar for that kind of a claim is quite high. And it would be very difficult under either circumstance for someone to successfully argue that this board or district did a state-created danger is kind of the phrase we talk about. That would be a very hard claim to make. Could someone try it? A medically fragile student absolutely might try that if they got sick as a result, but it is an incredibly high bar.
I just want to add a couple more things. everybody seems to have spoken to someone. We've received, I don't know how many articles, both stating the effectiveness of masks, and we've received 1 million articles stating how damaging masks have been for children, for learning, and I think we've received many emails on both sides. But the couple things that I just wanted to add, I did speak with our medical director where I work, who has spoken directly with the head of the CDC, and I posed the question just today, what are your thoughts, or is there any insight you can give me as to why the language of the CDC does not include the words recommend or require? And what I was told was that that was deliberate because at this point, 2 years into the pandemic, with vaccines available for everyone who wants one, and with the variants of COVID significantly getting less and less, and just the whole stigma of the mandates and what it's done to this communities and the country and the world, quite frankly, that it was specifically written that way to leave that choice into the hands of families for themselves and what they think is best for themselves. I also want to correct a statement that was made. Dr. Lee said that the Montgomery County Office of Public Health also requires, they do not require. If you look at their guidance, they've added both words, recommend or require. And I think that was purposeful as far as, again, allowing people the opportunity to do what's right for themselves, for their children, for their family members. I think at this point, and this has been discussed even back in September, we had a conversation here. There was a few board members when we were discussing testing and mandates, that once the vaccine was available for everybody and there was no more mask mandate in place, we should not be telling parents what to do. I don't know what's changed since then. I can tell you what has changed. What has changed is the vaccine is available for all those who want it, every age group. They've come out and said that when we first started this, I wear my mask, you wear your mask. But since then, there's been studies and articles that one-way masking is, I won't say as effective, but is effective. So if somebody wants to choose to wear a KN95 mask, it will protect them if they want to wear that. So with all of these other things available, I don't know why we would still continue to mandate something when it's not what everybody wants. And I think, mandating it is definitely at this point, when you look at the CDC's language, you look at the Montgomery County Office of Public Health's language, adding the words recommend or require is definitely imposing your own personal preference on it. That's all I have to say.
I think the CDC guidelines are very clear. They say in a high level of community disease, you should wear a mask indoors. There's no ambiguity at all. It says if there's a high level of disease, and this is what we're talking about. We're not talking about the same metrics as before where there might be 100 cases per 100,000. We're talking about 20% of hospital beds being filled with COVID patients. We're talking about either a more virulent strain where a greater number of people are seriously ill, or a more contagious strain where the absolute numbers of people more seriously ill are higher. It's completely different than where we are now, and hopefully we never get there. But there is no ambiguity to the CDC recommendations.
Also, to clarify, the CDC is not a legislative body. They don't have the authority to ever mandate anything. All they can do is make a recommendation, and then it's up to a legislative body, like a school board, to set the guidelines for their own school. So it's not that the CDC doesn't think it's necessary that in the high range it should be mandated. They don't have the authority to do that. They leave that up to us to make that decision, and that's why we mandate all kinds of things as a school board. We've got a whole list of policies and procedures online that anybody can go read. We don't leave everything up to parent decision whether they want to or not, whether it's their judgment or not. we have all kinds of rules and regulations, and if you want to come to the public school, then you follow the rules and regulations that are established. So I don't see why wearing a mask would be a set-aside from all the other rules that we have in place already. You know, why different? Why is it parent judgment for this one but not for anything else?
Well, I think the Montgomery County Office of Public Health is an organization that can and has mandated masks in the past, and they also do not mandate masks in the high.
They're saying that the school district can require
Correct.
or mandate
Correct.
or...
Correct.
Mr. Steinberg?
Mr. Berardi, you had indicated that the CDC neither uses the wording recommending or requiring. And I have in front of me the bulletin from the CDC, and I'll read it, and it says, the CDC recommends that people consistently and correctly wear a well-fitting mask indoors in public when communities are at a high level. So they are, as Ms. Natter indicated, they do not have the authority to require anything or to legislate, but, and I am the furthest from an expert. I'm very pleased we have some multiple practitioners here, but the CDC is recommending that people wear a mask. And I suspect they are using the word recommend because they don't have the authority to require. The Montgomery County Office of Health has a recommendation, and they're following the CDC. And masking in indoor public settings is recommended for all individuals at the high community level. So once again, the county is falling on the CDC, and the CDC is using the verbiage that they're permitted to use. So, nor do I wish to play semantics, but it seems, if I'm reading this correctly, that they're kind of telling us that if we're in the high range, you better put a mask on. So, again, if I'm,
So they're if I'm recommending it.
mistaken, that's the wording.
Okay.
That's the literature here that was distributed. So they're using that verbiage because they can't use the word requirement because, as Ms. Natter points out, they don't have the authority to require. Once again, I think I'm distressed that the government has pushed this on all these school districts with people that are not, with certain exceptions, skilled in this area. But if we're relying on the CDC, it seems as direct as it can be that they're telling us if you're in the high range, which may never happen, we're in the low range, we may never see the high range again, and this all may willingly be for moot. It may have no bearing on anything because the incidence of the virus is diminishing. And I pray that that's the case. But once again, I'm reading from their literature, and they seem to be saying, get thee a mask.
So again, they're recommending that you wear a mask in the high.
I'm sorry?
They're recommending that you wear a mask in the high level.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the literature here. And you're certainly welcome.
No, I've seen it. I've read it.
So, again, I'm disturbed that in New Jersey, the governor made a a decree that all school districts had to wear a mask. In Pennsylvania, that was overturned. So all the school districts are having this same discussion. That's a pity. But if I'm reading this correctly, once again, it seems that the CDC is telling us they're recommending it because they can't use the word require. They don't have that authority. I'm repeating myself.
Well, Montgomery County certainly has the authority to use that, and they don't.
I'm sorry. Montgomery County seemed to say whatever the CDC says is okay, if I read that correctly.
The Montgomery County.
So it seems, if nothing else, a bit inconsistent. And once again, this may all be for naught because we may not see an increase.
The Montgomery County guidance is clearly stating we could recommend or require masks. Bottom line, we're quibbling over words here and semantics. We have the power to make a choice for our district as we interpret the guidelines offered to us. My personal view, if you view the CDC guidelines, it's clearly incrementally increasing from low to medium to high. High says wear a mask. Vaccinate, regardless of vaccination status, K through 12 in indoor settings.
Dr. David Heiser, the plan has where the status had to stay in that category for 2 weeks before the mandate was either lifted or it was removed. Is that the way it's written? I'm looking at it, I can't see it. Is it still a 2-week requirement? Like immediately if it goes to high and there's a mandate, or does it wait an extra week till it's 2 weeks in high?
There was none of that language found in the CDC guidance, and as the Montgomery County Office of Public Health has adopted the CDC guidance verbatim, there's no language in with regards to that. Originally, when I presented a couple of weeks ago to you, I was told there was going to be Friday updates. It looked like it updated last Thursday. That moved the, excuse me, two Thursdays ago, moved it to low. So I'm looking to see whether or not that will update again this coming Thursday. It looks like it's going to be a weekly update.
Okay.
But there's no language in there dedicating 2 weeks or
Okay.
longer or anything like that.
May I say, Steve, I think that's because with the metrics as they're written, unlike with case rates, where you may have fluctuations week to week, if we get to the point where we have hospitals full of COVID patients, it's not going to go down in 1 week. It's not going to be this up and down. We're probably, again, everyone hopes we never get there. If we get there, it's going to be a sustained period where we're there, and then it'll come back down. So I think that's why that's not included.
Dr. David Heiser, am I correct, if I may backtrack, that the CDC does not have that authority, that Ms. Natter and I are under the impression?
I'm going to defer that question to our attorney, who probably is the best to answer that. I have some literature in front of me. However, I'm going to really defer that to Mr. Khan.
Broadly stated, that is a fair question. Technically, even the mask mandate on buses was under a specific enabling statute that empowered the CDC to take certain actions in certain categories. That was a CDC order. But broadly stated, they do not have the ability to issue edicts like that.
Thank you.
Mr. Geyer, did you want to say something? Okay.
I'd just
Ms.
like to
Gannon?
speak for a moment. I just want to kind of remember all of the families that have spoken regarding problems that their children have had regarding masks, including my own children. I'm not going to speak about that right now, but there are some serious issues that come from mask wearing as well. I do trust that if we reached a certain level of severity, that the Montgomery County Office of Public Health would end up requiring masks again. And even though the governor cannot, we did see in the state of Pennsylvania that Secretary of Health Allison Beam did end up doing that. So I feel like if we got to a severe enough level that we could accept guidance from those experts. I personally have said before that I don't feel that, I'll agree with what Mr. Steinberg said. I'm not an expert in COVID-19. I'm not at all. We do have 2 medical doctors here, and I respect their opinion, but I don't think that the 9 of us should be making decisions that are more important than a parent's decision. And that's how I'll be voting.
Are there any other comments, questions? Exactly, so we have changed the motion, and now we're,
The motion to amend would get called separately. So if the motion to amend passes, you will vote again on the amended health and safety plan. If it fails, then you will vote again on the original, the version sent to you. So it's 2 motions now because of the motion.
okay. So can you repeat that one more time?
We're calling the motion to amend, and
Okay.
if you say yes, then the health and safety plan draft will have a requirement for masks. If you say no, it will stay the way it has been presented to you tonight. If that, either way, whether it passes or fails, you will then call the motion on the health and safety plan. If the motion to amend passes, it will be requiring masks.
Okay.
If it doesn't, it will not be mandating masks in high.
Okay, so we have a vote now, but I don't have to have a motion because we're already in it.
That's
Correct,
You've
okay.
already got a motion and second on both. So right now, you're just calling the amendment.
Mrs. Baker, I believe this will require a roll call vote. So just to be clear, again, echoing Mr. Khan, the school board is voting on the amendment that was motioned by Dr. Cohen, seconded by Mrs. Natter, to require masks in high categories or make masks mandatory.
Correct.
Okay. Roll call vote on that motion. Mr. Geiger.
No.
Mr. Berardi.
No.
Dr. Cohen. Dr. Cohen voted yes. Dr. Lee.
Yes.
Dr. Butler.
Yes.
Mrs. Cannon.
No.
Mrs. Natter.
Yes.
Mr. Steinberg. Mrs. Baker.
No.
The motion carries 5-4. So now, at this point, Mr. Khan, is there a chance for further comment?
Now we vote on the safety plan.
Now you vote on the safety plan, and unless someone has something additional to add, you're not required to do, everybody's commented on the substance, so you can just call the vote at this point.
So motion to approve. Right. Health and safety plan. Masking, okay. Do I have a motion to approve the health and safety plan requiring? No, I don't need a motion. Okay.
It's now been amended, so you can just call the vote.
Okay, so roll call.
So we have an original motion that was motioned by Mr. Berardi, and it was seconded by Mrs. Cannon on the health and safety plan. The previous motion amended that health and safety plan as presented to now require masks in the high category. And that is what we are voting on right now. So that is correct. A mask would be mandatory in high category as denoted in the previous amended motion. So now we're voting on the entire plan that includes the amended motion. Roll call vote. Mrs. Natter.
Yes.
Mrs. Natter voted yes. Sorry, I didn't hear it. Mrs. Baker.
No.
Dr. Butler.
Yes.
Mr. Berardi.
No.
Ms. Cannon.
No.
Mr. Steinberg. Mr. Steinberg voted yes. Dr. Cohen. Dr. Cohen voted yes. Mr. Geiger.
Yes.
Dr. Lee.
Yes.
Mrs. Baker, the motion carries 6-3.
Thank you, Ms. McGrath. Do I have a motion to approve the 2021-2022 personnel motions 1A as attached?
So moved.
Second? Second. Okay. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns? Mr. Geiger?
I'm sorry,
Okay.
there's no additions, right? There's some
I don't
bolded text. There's no additions from the work session, correct?
Yes, the bolded items are new, so if you want me to go over them real
No.
quickly, I can.
No,
No? Okay.
they're fine, thank you.
Mr. Geiger, any questions? No? Okay. If there are no further comments, questions, or concerns, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Or yes? Any abstentions? The motion is carried. Do I have a motion to approve the professional meetings as attached?
Is there nothing
So moved.
in athletic extracurricular?
There is one addition to the professional meetings. And Mrs. Drennan, there's 4 additions to the professional meetings.
Dr. David Heiser, I believe we skipped over extracurricular contracts
Yes.
Okay.
and
Okay, yeah,
non-athletic and athletic.
Right.
extra-
We saw B, D,
I took
B,
it
C,
all
and D.
apart.
So
sorry.
inside of non-athletic, there are none.
None.
So we can move to item C, Mrs. Baker.
Apologize for that. Motion to approve the 2021-22 athletic extracurricular contracts stipends as attached.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns? If there are no comments, questions, or concerns, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. Do I have a motion to approve the staffing confirmation agreement with Therapy Travelers to provide a registered behavior technician from March 21st, 2022 to June 14th, 2022 as attached?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Are there any comments, questions, or concerns? If there are no further comments, questions, or concerns, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. Do I have a motion to approve the professional meetings as attached? Yes. Okay.
I just wanted to comment briefly that there are a number of additions since the work session. They are things that were requested by staff after the work session items were due. They are upcoming. You may see a uptick in the amount of money allocated for requests, and that is because things are coming back to being in-person opportunities.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the professional meetings as attached?
So moved.
Okay. Second? Second. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns? If there are no further comments, questions, or concerns, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. Nothing in diversity? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the use of buildings and facilities applications as attached? Second?
Second.
Are there any comments, questions, or concerns?
Mrs. Baker, there are a couple additions. St. Hilary School is planning or applying to use our track. The fee that would be attached to that application is the same as St. Albert's, which would be $700. And the Emmanuel German School is further expanding the use of the high school for their awards assembly, which they will have in the auditorium.
Are there any comments, questions, or concerns? If there are no further comments, questions, or concerns, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. Business and Finance, motion to approve. Do I have a motion to approve the financial report as attached?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second.
Discussion of it? Is that new? Okay. If there are no further comments, questions, or concerns, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. Do I have a motion to approve the accounts payable checklist A and B as attached?
So moved.
Second? Are there any comments, questions, or concerns? If there are
Ms.
no-
Baker, we added the
We add- okay,
checklist
now it's
dated
discussion.
3/7 as per our normal procedure.
Are there any comments, questions, or concerns? If there are no further comments, questions, or concerns, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. Do I have a motion to approve the wire transfer list dated February 28th, 2022 in the amount of $309,649.94 as attached?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Are there any comments, questions, or concerns? If there are no further comments or questions or concerns, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. Student Services, do I have a motion to approve the agreement between the parents of student number 5246 to provide educational services at Fusion Academy through the end of 2022 to 2023 school year as attached?
So moved.
Second? Are there any comments, questions, or concerns? If there are no comments, questions, or concerns, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. Do I have a motion to approve the extracurricular and co-curricular activity applications as attached?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Are there any comments, questions, or concerns? If there are no further comments, questions, or concerns, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. Do I have a motion to approve the revised board policy 6610, purchases subject to bid quotation for the first reading as attached? Second?
Second.
Are there any comments, questions, or concerns? If there are no comments, questions, or concerns, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. Do I have a motion to approve the teacher's field trip applications as attached?
So moved.
Second?
Mrs. Baker, I'll just note that both of those trips are new since our work session.
Right.
It's the Pennsylvania Junior Academy of Science, which is a regularly scheduled yearly competition, state competition, since it is overnight. And then we have also a daily field trip, however it is out of state to New Jersey.
Okay. Are there any comments, questions, or concerns? If there are no comments, questions, or concerns, let's move to a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? The motion is carried. Are there any legislative reports?
The closing arguments for the fair funding trial were held on March 10th, but it'll probably a few months before we get a decision. And there's really no indication right now as far as the budget, and which includes charter school reform. So hopefully, maybe by next month, we'll have something on the budget.
Thank you.
I don't think so either, Mr. McGlynn.
Was there anything with regard to the additional funds coming to school districts?
Are you referring to the fair funding?
Yes.
Yeah, I just said the closing arguments were held on March 10th, but probably won't get a decision for a few months.
Dr. Lee, Eastern Center for Arts and Technology.
Yeah, thank you. I think by all accounts, it was a very successful open house. The leadership was really appreciative of all the board members who were able to make it for the VIP tour prior to the open house, which I think several hundred students and families attended. I think we were all impressed by the need for the renovation in the welding lab. That resolution passed at a recent meeting. It's a $2.9 million project with the capital reserve that they have and their budgeting. They anticipate a shortfall of $69,703, which they're confident they can make up.
Thank you.
I will mention, sorry, there was a Lower Moreland student by the name of Caleb Boyle, who will be acting as a delegate for the Robotics Skills USA competition in April.
Thank you. MCIU, Mr. Berardi.
Other than we'll be holding our first in-person meeting since COVID began next Wednesday, nothing else to report.
Technology.
Yes, a few updates, and Mr. Berardi, the Tech Council will also be returning in person, I believe, next month at the MCIU. So one announcement and then two discussion item updates for the board. First is that Gail Kennedy, who's the Director of Technology Services at the MCIU, has announced her retirement. Just wanted to mention that I've worked with Gail for 5 years, and I certainly speak on behalf of many tech directors when I say that her help and support has been invaluable to Lower Moreland and to the districts in Montgomery County. We all wish her well and a very pleasant retirement. Second item is in addition to some other topics, the most discussed were two things. One is online resource dashboard. There are some vendors who have reached out to districts and districts who have reached out to vendors to inquire about online resource dashboards. And in a nutshell, what that looks like is because districts are so reliant on online resources, there are more issues that can arise when those resources go down. And for example, if a student is trying to access an online textbook, the book doesn't load, they would at a glance be able to see that it was an issue and when it would be back. A little bit like if you lose your electricity and MedEd sends you a text and says between 11 a.m. and noon, your electricity will be back on. There are vendors that offer this service, and right now in-house we have a dashboard on our website. So I think we're in great shape here, but there were districts who were inquiring about how they could do that. This also benefits families, students' families, and classroom teachers. So rather than submitting a help desk ticket, they could quickly and easily see whether a resource is online or offline. And the third and final piece is device purchasing and online renewals were discussed. In general, prices have risen for most products and services, and in some cases 5 to 10% since last year. The IU is working with, so Mark, his ears perked up. So the IU is working with vendors to secure consortium pricing, which the IU is known for, but certainly it would behoove districts to work together. So for example, if we're buying 2,000 Chromebooks and Upper Dublin is buying 2,000, those 4,000 would probably provide us with more buying power. So we will be taking advantage of any and all opportunities to keep costs in line with our budget projections. And that's the update.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, may I just ask a quick question, Dr. Holt?
Sure.
Yes.
Just curious, Dr. Holt, are there any textbooks or programs that allow students to cache their textbooks offline so that they can access them if they don't have internet access?
Yes, there are online versions that the textbook companies provide, but there's also things like Google provides it's the Play Store, so it's very much like the App Store with an offline mode that would allow students to, just as you say, they'd be able to download an offline version, and once they reconnect, they would be able to, all their notes would be synced and any questions, so absolutely.
Safe Schools?
There's no update. We will be meeting next month for our last meeting of the year.
Mr. McGuinn, is there any correspondence?
There is not, Mrs. Baker.
Would anyone like to discuss any issues, bring up anything to the board? Anything? If there are no further discussion, do I have a motion to adjourn?